It's thinking about it.
I see it. We're at second.
All right, everybody. Here we are. All right, everybody. It's time for Q&A with Alan and Marshall. I'm Alan Howe, except Marshall Atkinson is not with me. We're going to wait for some people to log on. Let me know that you guys are doing this, but I want to introduce my friend and our special co-host, Mr. Richard Greaves, or what was I calling you a couple days ago? The Richard Greaves.
The one and only.
The one and only.
FBI problem.
Yeah. So if you're listening, log on, let us know that you're here. Say hello, tell us where you're from. And yeah. So Richard, how is it with you? You're down there closer to Detroit, Michigan. I live about an hour and 20 minutes north of you. We are getting much snow and blowing snow.
I had to get up this morning as soon as it was allowed to run the snowblower so I can get the sidewalk. I have a sidewalk in the city of Wyandotte where I live. And if I don't do it, I don't want to be a bad neighbor. So 2 hours later, I'm back upstairs and wishing I, had more medicine for my hips. But I'm raring to go. Good brisk start at 2 hours in the snowblower.
Absolutely. Well, I have someone, because I travel so much, I have someone that comes and plows the driveway and does the walkway. So if I'm gone or coming home, I don't come home to 12 feet of snow. And they were here at 7 in the morning.
Your old driveway, I wouldn't have wanted to plow that.
Oh, yeah. You were out there at the house I had on the lake. That was a long, long driveway. I had someone plow that also. But they were here it and got it all done. And then the front sidewalk they don't do, but we have to keep that shoveled, or the city will come and do it for you, and they will charge you an exorbitant amount of money. There's some neighborhood kids that they do it for like $10, like done. Get the sidewalks done. And so they text me and said, we will be there probably about noon or so. So anyways, we got some people watching already. Shane Mary, good morning. Gosta from Uppsala, Sweden. Always good to see you.
Always the longest visitor.
Always. We've had some people from Netherlands before too, which is awesome. Jim from New Jersey. Glad to have you here, Jim. Mr. Greg Kitson. And, April 9th, Mr. Kitson's going to be with us on Q&A. So really looking forward to that. Charles from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Is that? No, you're not in Albuquerque. Charles, where are you at in New Mexico? Yep. And the one and only Peter Walsh.
Peter Walsh, he originally came from Australia. That's when I met him. Back in 1988, I met Peter Walsh.
And Peter's actually saying good morning from Kansas City, hometown of the reigning world champion Kansas City Chiefs.
Is that football? Is that about football?
There's a big game or something going on.
I hear about it. The big game.
Yeah.
I'm watching the Super Bowl. I don't know about those other people.
Right. Charles says, looking forward to getting some knowledge from some great fellas. Well, that's why I have Richard here with me. So, Cindy King, good morning. Have to run and pick up one of my kids. Back shortly. We'll wait. No. Drive safe, Cindy. Thanks for always checking in.
It's recorded.
It is. Yeah. If you missed this, Charles says he's in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Las Cruces. So, cool.
Everything.
Yeah. Good point, too. Yeah, because you could – these are all on YouTube. You need to watch one and miss it. It's you can always go back and watch them and rewatch them. So looking forward to it.
Speaking of YouTube, everyone should consider going and seeing the T-shirt report with Richard Greaves and Scott Fresner. Scott does all the work, but I think we got 30 old episodes of T-shirt report, but we're starting up new ones focusing on history. So Alan keeps saying, when are you going to start to publish those? Later on, soon, real soon now.
Yep.
Again, Scott has to do all the work.
I think those old episodes, I go back and watch them, and I remember right, Richard, I think episode number 2, there was a very younger version of me on that one.
He was thinner. The
it was
Alan Howe has gotten bigger and bigger in my estimation over the years.
and less hair. Yeah.
It's the
But I remember too.
screen printer's part.
Exactly. I was, man, where was I? I was in Chicago, or I was talking to a client, and they said they remember me from back in the day. No, it wasn't. I apologize. It wasn't a client. I was at my stepmom's house, and one of her friends she's been friends with for 40 years, and I don't remember meeting her. And she goes, "No, I met you when Kathy and your dad got married and all that." I said, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah, you were a lot thinner." Thank you. And she goes, "Didn't you have like long blonde hair?" I go, "Oh yeah, longer hair and blonde. Those were the days." But
when you were a rock musician manager.
well, no, that was a few years ago. I was still old and heavy then, but I just managed. This is when I was a teenager. That would have been before screen printing. So yeah, those days are long gone. Young, long hair and blonde. Boy, while ago. Uh, Gusta says it's so cold. And Greg says, I feel history every morning when I get up. Don't we all? Richard, I am excited about the T-shirt report because I think the history of screen printing, I know some of the people you're writing down to have interviews with. I think it's going to be great. What's the one thing? What's the saying? The one thing man never learns from history is man never learns anything from history and is doomed to repeat it.
There we go.
And I think, man, we can prevent a lot of pitfalls by knowing of those and learning of those that have walked before us. So, yeah, I think it's great. So, yeah.
But what about the future? What's happening in 2020 or 2021?
2021. Well, isn't that our first topic?
It's called a segue.
It's a segue. Way to go. So 1 month into 2021. So everybody, what have you accomplished? We all talked about the pandemic and everything going on in 2020, and we were setting goals and even, personal resolutions and stuff. This is our first broadcast of February. 1 month of 2021 is gone already. So what have you accomplished? What are you working on? What did you implement? How's that going from you? Let's hear what's going on with y'all.
So I'll start that off by saying that every client of mine, I specifically ask them if I'm talking to you on the phone and I'm trying to call up because I'm getting such a discrepancy as what it costs per day to operate their shop. So I'm asking them to do an analysis and come up with do they know what it costs them to run the shop every day? Because that's the number one thing in establishing your costs, because everybody wants to know about pricing, but if you don't know what your actual costs are or who your good paying customers and your bad paying customers being people that you actually don't make much money on. So you've got jobs that you hate, or you've got those clients that you hate. I mean, you love them, but every job they bring is filled with trauma and you're not paid enough to do it. That's the beginning of that analysis.
Yeah, I've talked to some clients too. They've actually trimmed back their client list, said, you know what, I just don't have time. I'm not making money with them. And, we don't say it enough, but sometimes you got to fire a customer.
In the professions, legal professions like lawyers or doctors, client pruning, especially with lawyers, is definitely an established thing that they learn about in school. And that would be getting rid of the bottom people. I know that Jack Welch, the late leader of General Electric, he got into a lot of trouble by firing his bottom 10% performers. And I never really understood the logic that people didn't like that, because if you don't cull your litter of people, you'll never be able to grow, because the slower people will always slow you down. You'll have to carry them. They don't pull their own weight. Listen to all those phrases that we've heard for a million years. They didn't pull their own weight. You get rid of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody likes to fire a customer because all business is precious, especially this time of the, in our world. But sometimes it's just the best thing. And most of the times when people do it, they're going, man, we should have done that a long time ago. I don't fire them. I usually just recommend them to a competitor. Here, go here.
When it comes to downtime, January and February classic, after the big holiday push, that I don't think enough people remember what they did last year, and in November start to work the clients they have to deliver to. Gee, what time is baseball season? When I did work in Puerto Rico, where they have 3 baseball seasons, I got the company that I worked with to literally create their own scheduling system. And this is way before the internet, so that, you know what the problems are. Moms are always bringing in the checks. Mom's forgetting the right size. They don't print enough. From last year, all the problems. And if you don't solve those or anticipate them and provide a friction-free sales for next year, people will not come back to you. Make it easy for them to buy and embrace them. Have empathy for the fact that they don't know your problems. They just know they've got to write a check to get Jimmy his size small.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where online stores are coming on so big.
Oh, yeah.
They're just making it so easy. I have clients that are telling me, going, man, if it wasn't for online stores, our business would be rough. And actually, way up in Michigan, in McBain, there's a guy, he has 2 automatics. He said embroidery is busy right now. Everybody's saying that embroidery is extremely busy. But he said his print jobs are going steady too. Not huge. If he ran them all on both presses, he'd be done in 3 days. But he said they're coming in steady, and he's loving it. A lot of online stores, and it's just making things easy. Of course, up here in Michigan too, now that they've just released, it looks like that school sports are going to be going. So I imagine a lot of shops, they're going to get their stores going and getting everything running. So let's see what we have here. Dan Solomon, another Michigan guy. Hey,
hello,
Richard.
Dan. Hello from Detroit-ish. I'm in Detroit, south of Detroit.
And Daniel's up there in Freeland, up there by Saginaw. Ghost Day says, I'm 1 year into the industry now. HTV sublimation on T-shirts, and just made my first design for black T-shirts and DTG. Ooh. I have March 12th, we're going to have Joe Piazza from Caesar on and talk about the HTV industry, that heat transfer vinyl. We always think of a cut vinyl numbers and stuff. They have so many incredible colors, special effects, and even products that can hold sublimation and go on there, print cut stuff. It's just amazing. And then just made my first design on black T-shirts and DTG, running white first on DTG. Remember when that was, Scott Fresner had the very first one. There were some issues with it, but he broke the market on it, and now it's just a thing.
But it was the guys at DuPont where, that really made those inks. In his history story, which will be running on the T-shirt report, I did an hour and a half of my history of how I got into the business. Scott did an hour and a half of his, and very specific. He's got at least 10 minutes on his work with DuPont where they went, white ink? No way. We're not doing it.
Yeah.
And it was another guy who slipped by and said, Scott, wait a minute. And that turned into be how white ink got onto dark shirts.
Right. Yeah. I need to get Scott Fresner on the show. Scott is a guy, I always love it, because I don't know that Scott invented anything, but he has just brought it to the industry. I remember when laser film and vellum was the thing, the new hot ticket. And then all of a sudden inkjet came. Who brought that to the market? Scott Fresner. DTG, who kind of brought that, busted into the market on it? Scott Fresner. So such great things on him. I'm always good to talk with him on it.
So we get 2 interesting stories about that Scott Fresner were in Philadelphia. Scott Fresner and I were in Philadelphia at the paint show. not a
Sure.
screen printing show at all. I lived in Philadelphia at the time. He was in the neighbor. I don't remember. And we walked the paint show, and we're walking by down a booth. We saw something. We get about 100 feet past the booth. I look over at him and I said, "Did you see that?" "Yeah, I did." Let's go back. What we saw was a gigantic laser printer. And that turned out to be the Zante screenwriter. And we swarmed on the guy, and we saw, ooh, this was it, because it was a larger format, 11 by 17, or it actually went larger than that.
Right.
So only Brent Bruns had a large laser printer up to that day. So all of a sudden that put the Cume Crystal Print Publisher and the Texas Instruments 2108. Look at how I can pluck those out of my brain. I remember that stuff, but I can't remember why I went upstairs 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Those are all good plugs
in the same
for
way.
T-shirt Report. Yeah.
Yep.
So let me change the subject by plugging another netcast. And yesterday, I watched the Printavo University, Stephen Frang of Campus Inc. Partners. He's a partner in their company, and he talked for an hour about automation. And it isn't automation in the typical way. It's automating your business. This is required watching.
Sure.
I cannot wait. I've been checking every hour to see whether or not Printavo has published it again. Get on the Printavo website, get into their blog area, and as soon as it comes on, it's required watching. I promise you, it will open your mind at what we should be doing. He's way ahead of the pack.
Right. Awesome. I like how you call it a netcast too, because I always call this a podcast. It's really not.
I don't have any Apple equipment, and so I give, Jeffrey Gitterman, my old partner, who Jeffrey Gitterman will see in Dallas at the live Shirt Lab. Jeffrey Gitterman is all Apple all the time, and he only believes in Apples and Teslas. If you don't have that stuff, you're useless. And so I've had a 30-year teasing thing with him, but I've never owned an Apple product, and so I don't have an iPod, but I have a network. I have the internet.
Sure.
So I've always called it a netcast.
Got a few more people coming in here. Dave Edgars. Sorry I'm late. Always good to have you, Dave. William
We'll
Mitchell.
Just go over what we talked about so far.
Pardon me?
We'll just go over what we talked about before so far.
Absolutely. And Peter Walsh says, Richard, your memory is the second thing to go. I'm wondering what the first one is. I'm afraid to ask Peter what the first thing would be to go.
The hair, baby.
Yeah.
Screen printer part.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good. I'm glad Ghost is working on stuff. Let us know what else you've been working on. I see a lot of people still. I've talked to 2 people this week that are looking at auto reclaims and just getting some information, and probably going to pull the trigger real quick on it. People are working on, it's still about labor. It's always going to be about labor cost. I'm seeing a lot of people do that. And those are some of the things they're still working on. That, direct to screen, and automatic coding. Those are the 3 big equipment things I'm seeing. Also, talk to a guy. I was with Pete from Same Day Tees, and looks like he's pulled the trigger, or going to pull the trigger, possibly in another digital squeegee. So, a lot of people still moving forward with that, and we got to keep moving forward. So, cool. Peter says, if you can't remember what the first is, you're already at stage 3. Absolutely. That's probably where I'm at. Well, wonderful. All right. Let's see. How about our second topic? Right there.
Unique or viewed, perceived. Have you got a banner for that? Oh, there it is. I can read it all there.
Yeah. Unique or commodity. How are you viewed? And, you and I got into a discussion a couple of days ago about this, and we both received a box actually about it. How people are viewing you. Everybody wants to know how they get more clients and stuff. How are they doing that? Well, how about hanging on to the ones you are? How about setting yourself apart? That's the difference. on there? Are you unique to the industry or your market? Or are you just another person that prints a shirt or decorates? How do you think you're viewed, and what are you doing to change that? So, Richard, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, a lot of it has to do with the experience. I mentioned earlier on in this cast right here that if you have any friction that you know about and you don't get rid of it, every friction you get rid of, you'll be different, because we can always win clients away because they don't deliver on time. They're not doing what they're supposed to or what's expected. And so making sure that you understand the client and where they are. Now, this is a Q&A thing. One of the easiest things I can do is when someone asks me a question, when a client asks me a question, the way they approach me, the classic being, how much for 100 hoodies, which seems to be the classic, we know who you are. I know who you are. And if we have empathy, we reach out to them and we want to help them because they think they know what they want, but we're the experts. And so we're supposed to guide them. And, but the first thing is we must not have contempt. So respect and empathy for our clients is the big thing. There's a great book called The Experience Economy. I can go get it off the shelf if you want, Alan, but it's the one that's taught me the most. But every culture book, so that would be the books on hiring, Powerful by Pat McCoy, anything that has to do with the culture of your shop. If you're an irritated, unhappy company, guess what your clients see? But who is the number one person that greets your customers? It's the person that packed the shirts in the box. They get that box, they open it up, and that's who you are. Do they wondering where are the smalls? Because they need the smalls first, because she's here now. And they're looking. So clearly saying what's inside and making it a glorious birthday gift. Like what Josiah sent to us this week.
Well, let's talk about that. But right now, let me show you something. Josiah was just mentioned. Sam Bollinger says about to hop on the road, checking in from Kid Company in Clio. Ray Markey is company there. Great people. Great day of dialing in Discharge with the crew here, and our friend Josiah Blackmore of Red Threads fame. Great shop over here. And I brought that up because one, Josiah just sent something. I don't know, Richard, did you get this?
Yes.
Incredible. Of a box, came here to me. Of course, it had good coffee and some soap and stuff. And then mine had a little thing that said, check in the bottom. There might be a special thing. And it was a candy bar. And I don't know. Did yours have that, Richard? Did you have a candy bar on the bottom?
I had the candy bar. I had a different experience than you, though, but go ahead.
Go ahead. Mine had a golden ticket in there.
Oh,
it was like Willy Wonka in Midland, Michigan. So you haven't opened yours. So check yours out. See if you have a golden ticket in it.
You mean there's more than one golden ticket?
I guess. I don't know. Mine said it could be special. So I don't know.
It should be glowing. Where's my light?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I have the golden ticket.
There it is. He's got a golden ticket. So what this is, there's a link there, and I already went on it. And it's what he's doing is he's asking for referrals. But the more referrals you get, the more referrals you give, you get prizes, gift cards, things like that. And it was very professionally done. The chocolate I ate already was very good too. It was very professionally done. It was incredibly a great video. And, I know Josiah from you. You introduced me to him. And he has really come into his own on marketing and stuff. He's printing very little. He is farming most of it out and just brokering, but he has really done great. And this was a great way to set himself apart. It wasn't a pushy thing. It was incredible. So, yeah.
I took Josiah to his first trade show. He reached out to me, called me, be bold and call me. You can be my friend.
Yep.
Just call me up.
Absolutely.
People are too afraid to call. So be bold. If you got a question, why are you not calling? But Josiah called me up and asked me information about exposure units and stuff like that. And I advised him and helped him get his first big exposure unit. So we became friends over the phone. And it was Atlantic City. I don't know how many years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And so he drove down here and we drove together. Twice we've gone to Atlantic City together.
It was 2016 because I have a picture. You introduced me to him. He wanted the picture with us and felt important. I was with, someone wanted the picture with me and the Richard Greaves. And he went around and met everybody. I know he met Peter there at that show, Peter Walsh and stuff, and everybody remembers Josiah. He has a very good, big personality. Not a big guy. I'm 6'2", so I tower over him, but just a great guy. And he's really just soaked up every bit of information that he has learned and heard. And so I'm very proud of him. But he's really every year, every month trying to go that 1% better of setting himself apart. And it's all about how he's viewed and doing a great job.
So I got the package yesterday and it came just like this. It was on the porch. The UPS guy dropped it. And I'm careful because I watched the Shirt Lab open house where he described this box 2 weeks ago. And so I didn't want to wreck it because he printed the box. And so I was very careful because it had plastic around it where the label was. And so I'm just sort of peeking in and I'm reaching into the box from one end and I'm digging the stuff out bit by bit. So there's the coffee that I got last year too, that he printed the bag that this goes into. And then I forget how I saw or heard it or something popped up where he said, you could get the golden ticket or whatever. And so I looked inside because I'm reaching inside. Now there's nothing else in there. And oops, I see on the inside, because I only opened it up from the end, I see on the top of the box, there's printing in the box.
Yep.
And what is in there? A QR code. Get it lined up there. There we go. A QR code. Yep. So I get my phone. Oh, look at this.
And
you should see my desk now.
That's a great picture of Josiah.
I've got this all over my desk.
Well, before we started, I just ended up dumping it all out on the floor.
Okay, so it's a QR
and I love
code. It's a QR code to a personal video that he gave to me, and then he runs a video at the end that shows how he actually printed this stuff.
Really?
But he spent 5 minutes talking to me in a video. So,
wow!
Very
I'm
unique.
Gonna have to look at the QR code.
Very unique.
I wonder at my QR code if it's a video of him talking to you, Richard.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, but it'll be great. Sure. I have to check that out. So great job, Josiah. And I love stuff like that. That is stuff that sets you apart. That is stuff that gets, what is this?
That's the crunchy paper stuff that's in my drink now.
Oh, yeah. This is the stuff that he is now not a commodity at all. He is now
never been a commodity.
Yeah.
He's always been a unique great cook.
The very first Thread X, we in 2018 or 17 or whatever, 18 it was. The first Thread X, he comes and he had one manual, didn't even have an automatic at the time. Spends the money, comes to Thread X, and he comes with these great business cards.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff, and everybody remembered them from there. So, yeah, Josiah is really becoming the new Billy Mays of the industry.
Well, I know that he was very proud of that. Now, I think Josiah is the only person that could do it, but I had screen printed business cards.
Yep.
But these are printed on Lexan. There's only about 10 left in the universe that I know about. I've only got about 5 of them left. Bruce Ridge made them for me. I didn't even make them. Bruce Ridge printed them for me and gave them to me as a surprise. But that was a killer business card, unique. I know that you've got, what are they? The military calls them confirmation coins or something like that. I got one from Jeffrey Gittimer.
Sure.
This is one from Ronnie Goodwin at Goodwin Graphics, and they're a military thing. Allison
Banholzer
told me that she's got them too. That it was a big thing with her husband, and they're unique.
They are, and it's all these things that set yourself apart. We got some comments here. Let's see. Dan Solomon, I actually have a few customers who are trying out new technologies now that they have some time. H2O, silicone, new brands. And now's the time to do it. When there's a slow time, now's the time. You need to be doing that. That goes back to our first one. What are you doing? What are you accomplishing? These are when you test different products. It could be a puff ink, an HD, a silicone, something that will set you apart from the guy down the road going, yeah, I just print T-shirts in my garage or in my basement. Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, more than just printing a T-shirt. Heather Streibel, some of my favorite men. Hey, Heather out of Cave City, Kentucky.
Hi, Heather.
And Heather is a pretty good printer in her own right, too. I've been to her shop many times. When she is not lifting weights, she is a power lifter. And if you've not seen those videos, pretty incredible. I'm physically afraid of her now. But yeah, she could crush my spleen. But she's just a sweetheart.
She's unique.
And this is a question for you from our friend James Erdelani. How much should we charge on 100 hoodies?
As much as you can. You've got to do a cashectomy on those clients. You need to help them to relieve them from that burden.
Yeah. It's
our job. What is our job? Our job is to make money.
Yeah.
And
here we go.
This fellow man, but
go ahead. I'm
sorry. If
we're
not making money, why are we doing it? Because it's a hobby if you're not making money.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a nice one from Bangladesh. Rubel from Bangladesh. Hey, thanks for tuning in. He's from Bangladesh, and you were just there, weren't you?
I was there in September and October for 3 weeks.
Yeah. Do you have a solution for hardened screen reclaim? Looking forward to hearing from you too. Wow. Well, the purpose of hardening a screen is that they don't break down. And depending on how you're hardening them, it could be borderline impossible or not profitable, would be my first thoughts on it. What do you think, Richard?
Well, it's interesting because in the United States, we've all got water pressure. We turn the faucet and everything works fine. At one of the bigger factories I was in last October in Bangladesh, installed a brand new Zettner machine, a German screen reclaiming thing, what everybody desires to have. And I'm there trying to figure out how to set it, not how to figure out how to set it up, but setting it up because nobody from the factory or the bosses are there. I'm there to help set that up. And I'm looking at the water pressure, and the water pressure is terrible.
Yep.
And then I said, well, what's the water? What's happening on that? I says, well, we can go and look up the water up on the roof. They go, oh, do you not have municipal or city water? And they go, no, we got water on the tank. Let's go. So we walk up to the top floor, and there it is, a 500-gallon tank that comes from a well or something like that. They don't have access to water. So India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, those countries that I've been to in Asia, I've been very surprised that they don't reclaim. And so I believe, or they just don't do it. So because they don't reclaim, they don't retension their mesh, they cut their mesh out. So in India, I had clients that I went to that were absolutely fabulous at stretching Newman roller frames. Some of the best guys, I could get them all jobs in the United States where they'd get $35 an hour.
Sure.
Because they knew how to stretch Newmans. And what do? They run the job once and cut the mesh away. Now, in the screen room, they didn't really dry the screens. They heated them. So they put them in a sealed hot box, which if you put a hygrometer inside the sealed hot box, it's 90% relative humidity inside a sealed refrigerator that's also at 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So they're in those countries, not trying to insult everyone there. They do not understand how to reclaim screens. It's not a goal. And retention mesh is not a countrywide goal. I didn't find anybody that was really making screens to what we would consider our standards. So it costs them more. So they don't use good mesh. They use the cheapest mesh because it's like confetti. It's like Kleenex. They throw it away. So they use hardener because they're not really drying the screens and they're not really cross-linking the screens in exposure. So they put the Band-Aid on of hardener because I didn't see anybody that was really doing long runs. I had a fantastic argument, or not an argument, but in my early days, 1982, Susan Vanell, who was my editor at Screenprinting magazines for so many years, Susan was my Autotype distributor. And I called her up and said, what's happening with Autotype WR? It's cracking. The screens are failing. And we talked for about 10 minutes about all my procedures. She then casually asked me, well, how many prints are you getting? I said, these screens are breaking down after 70,000 prints. Silence. And then I believe she was in Chicago. I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I believe I could hear without the phone, 70,000 prints.
Yeah.
I'll call you back in 10 minutes.
I think that goes to say, Richard, Rubel, the question is one, why are you hardening your screens? And for people in America, here in the U.S. and North America, in most of the world, water-based is 99.9%. So I'm sure it's a water-based product. If you are hardening your screens just to keep the screen from breaking down and you're not doing real long runs, you might want to look at your screen procedures of properly exposing, drying, and curing, because the way technology is on stencil products, I don't care who the manufacturer is. It could be Kibo Yolano, it could be Sadi, it could be Murakami, it could be whoever, Autotype. Phenomenal products that are water resistant, that will last if they're done right, where you shouldn't have to harden the screen. And then that would make it easier to reclaim and reclaimable. So I hope that helps you.
But it's the fundamentals. There are water-resistant stencils that can go, even the old style. That's why I mentioned Autotype WR. It's a 50-year-old emulsion. And if it's properly exposed, and in those days, for the flag business, it was fluorescent tubes for me. Not even a really powerful thing, but properly cross-linked. There's no reason why a stencil shouldn't last at least 50,000 images.
And when you have a dual cure or a diazo emulsion, a stencil that you have to add sensitizer to, the proper drying of the screen before exposure is so important, because if it's not dried all the way through, you can expose it to the cows come home and it will not cross-link. It will break down. Pure photopolymers, a lot more latitude there, a lot more latitude able to use. So,
The diazo loves water. Water loves diazo. And so if you leave water in the stencil, those two get together behind your back in the alley and are cross-linking without any supervision. And not cross-linking the way you want them to cross-link.
So it's a bad thing on it. Boy, this question was both in mine and yours wheelhouse right there. That's kind of where we live. So, Rubel, hopefully that helped you out. I don't know if it's the answer you wanted, but I think that's the best answer we can give right now.
I'm looking for I can't type into the comments because I'm in the host or whatever. So my name and address are coming up later on. So bold, ask for help.
Richard will be able to help. There's a lot of us there. Let's see who else we have here. Sean in from Georgia. How you doing, Sean? Here's one, Peter. We're getting updated quotes from home and vehicle insurance, and I'm surprised how little our current provider will do to maintain our business. It amazes me how little some companies place on lifetime value of a customer. Making new customers as friends is cool, but maintaining and growing relationships with the relationships with current customers is money. Man, you're so right. Between Richard, Peter, and I, we've been doing this longer, I think, than I want to admit. And you both have been doing this longer than me. But I so value those relationships of clients that I consider my friends, but they have been clients for a long time because you value that relationship so much, not just as a friend, but as a customer. And some of the services, like you said, car insurance, it's like, doesn't matter how long you've been with them. They just don't care hardly anymore. And it's getting that way with a lot of companies. Yeah, we can't let that happen.
Onboarding a new client is the most expensive client you can get.
Yep, absolutely.
Nurturing your existing clients is where more profit is. We should always be growing. We want to grow, but it's still the first-time client is the most expensive client that you've got.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Ghost is laughing. I'm not sure when he's laughing. We've said a few things that could have been. Simon says that the answer to the screen hardening, how to reclaim, scissors.
Got the razor blade.
We used to say when I was selling emulsion for Yolano and Kiwo with the distributor, yeah, we had a little for hardened emulsion. How do you reclaim that? Yeah, it's called Yolano knife. We can sell those.
I got it right over there.
Yep. Brian Pletcher from Indiana. I have one of the Screen Police cards. It's pretty rare. I can't remember that one. Neil Bull ahead. Alan. Thank you, Neil. So I'm going to share something about Neil in case you didn't. Neil did.
He knows
when I started my career. He's learned a lot. Yeah. So Neil did the very first training on emulsion for me with a manufacturer back when I was 20 years old at J Products, and I went through 2 of them. Probably wasn't that good in the first one. I probably needed it again. So Neil did that. Fast forward 30 years later, Neil is an Academy member when I'm interviewed in. And Neil, I don't know if it was Academy, but when you and I were in an event and we were talking about that, I said, that training still served me well today, and I was working for a competitive company. And Neil deadpans and looks at me and goes, yeah, that's kind of backfired on me a little bit now. But yeah, those are relationships, man. Those things still, that's just basic fundamentals. And I am so appreciative of the training I got, in my early career. So had to tell that little story. Josiah with us. Josiah, hopefully you saw us. We were giving you some big shout outs on the box and talking about that. Latitudes and longitudes, like throwing a newspaper in a mailbox. There it is. There's Josiah.
That's what he looks like.
This is good for water power, so that we can't pull up links off that, but right there. Another thing on auto reclaims, a lot of those bigger ones that I see in Europeans, they like to skimp on the water pressure. And working for a chemical manufacturers like I have, I like water pressure. I like high pressure in machines. The M&R auto reclaim, lots of pressure. They like water pressure. We love that. So I'm kind of opposite. I know the European ones, they have a little different philosophy. That's me. But, pressure is good. More water pressure, less chemical. So there. Goes to saying water pressure. Man, we're getting them all over. Clara from Austria. Thank you so much for tuning in. Gotta love them coming from there. Jamie Christie from Kentucky. Thank you, Jamie. I think it's the first time you've listened. I met Jamie years ago, man, when I was with Tech Support Screen Printing Supplies. So he has a great business in Kentucky, doing a lot of racewear. Neil Bolding, you're making me feel old. This here is making me feel old too. So, absolutely. Well, that was great, man. Okay, so that was all on unique or commodity. But again, this is Q&A. So you have a question. It's all about you. We have topics, but those aren't etched in stone. You have a question, and you can, let us know, and we'll try to answer it. That's what it's about. Rubel says, "Can I have your email and ID, Alan?" Yeah, I'll put that up at the end. I'll give you mine and Richard's. So we'll put that up at the end of the show. No problem. So what do you think? Let's go to number 3. How much time do we have left?
Why aren't we printing?
Yeah, 12:45, 15 minutes. So, all right. So yeah, why aren't you printing? And we came up with this because, man, I am still seeing, and I don't want to shame anybody, but I'm gonna. If you are still, after almost a year, sitting in your shop, in your basement, in a spider hole with the covers over your head, waiting for things just to magically change, stop it. January was a slow month. Yes, there's always a January lull. We know that. Why aren't you printing? Do your work now, because right now your customers are in April. You need to start doing your work now, but you still could be printing. What are you testing? What are you looking to make yourself better at? Why aren't you? What is preventing you from moving forward? Well, I don't have clients. Okay, there's no orders in. Are you making 20 calls a day? Are you making 20 calls a day to get more clients? We just showed the box from Josiah, and he just, of course, he goes, print chocolate bars, for goodness sakes. Absolutely. What are you doing for referrals? Sometimes just pick up the phone, go through your client list, and start calling people. Start sending emails. What are you doing to prevent? Why aren't you printing? So, what is your biggest? What are the biggest obstacles, Richard? What are your thoughts on this when people are saying, "Yeah, I have nothing to do"?
Well, they don't know what they should be doing next. If they have nothing to do, I'm sure we've all had parents that have said, if you don't have anything to do, I've got something for you to do.
Yeah.
Believe me, there's always chores and cleaning up. I don't believe cleaning is enough of a value. There are so few shops that I go into that are clean because there isn't a 15-minute at the end of the day cleanup time. Again, it wouldn't be a netcast if I didn't plug 2-second lean. And lean is the identification of waste, elimination of waste. And you're wasting time if you're waiting in line. You're wasting time if you don't know what you should be doing. So there should be tasks that you do no matter what. And cleaning is number one. Removing clutter.
Your shop can always be. Yep, absolutely. I think removing clutter. I'm so big. I am so big on testing new products. What are the things? Is there a new ink system? Have you wanted to look at silicone? I think if you put a call into Dan Solomon, he'd probably help you out with that. What about the HSAs and water base? You can hit Poly One up or Virus or something like that. And, maybe it's not your cup of tea. You're going to want a good water resistant emulsion. Now's the time to do it when you're slow. How about something simple? How about like a shimmer ink or a glitter or a puff additive? If you've never done it, it's not hard. You need to be printing something. You need to be trying to that 1% every day of doing stuff. So, let's hear some of your thoughts on that.
You should be looking for new or strange. You'd be amazed. You're doing girls' sporting equipment, just a little bit of glitter, a little bit of flash will go a long way to making it more, more different.
Sure.
Using phosphorescent inks, glow-in-the-dark inks, all year round instead of just during Halloween. Just a little touch.
Yep.
Glow in the dark things when they walk into a bar. Can't walk into a bar anymore, but it used to be, you'd just have something hidden. And if they went into a nightclub where there was ultraviolet energy, they would start to glow. Wow. I didn't know that was there.
Everybody talks about, glow in the dark something. Richard and I can't remember. It's been a busy week. If it was you and I speaking, or I was talking, I think it was Pete from Same Day Teas. We were talking about the videos that Michelle Moxley just put up. She did one on a print with the jellyfish, and then there was another one with the glow in the dark ink. And we got talking that glow in the dark ink, that phosphorescent green glow in the dark, has so many uses. Even when it's not Halloween, it's such a great product. And man, you put that in with some simple artwork, and you got some stuff that could really sell out there. So, yeah, Michelle Moxley, if you're not following her at M&R and some of the stuff they're doing, there was some pretty good stuff. We got another question here from Clara in Austria. Have you been to Austria before, Richard? I was there once for a day.
It was just once for a day to meet with a client.
I was in Slovakia for a week and then spent a day in Vienna before we flew back. So anyway, is it better to stir or shake Plastisol inks? Some say you can partially cure inks when mixing them at a high RPM. Can you overshake Plastisols in a custom-made ink shaker? My first thing is custom-made. I'm not sure on that. How fast are you doing it? I have some ideas, but I don't know that I have facts on this, Richard.
Now, you can shake, but it is better to move the ink as much as possible. So shaking is good, and it's designed for the kind of emulsion style that is a actual paint, which is much more liquid. Plastisols, nothing really settles, so there isn't something that shaking really helps. What you need to do is you need to break all the molecules apart, that when they come together, here, I've got just a thing to demonstrate. When all the molecules sit together, they join with temporary bonds. Then when you move them, they don't warm up. It's the idea. Granted, there's energy, not kinetic energy. What's the other energy? When you stir them, you actually do break apart the bonds, and that builds energy, that puts energy into the ink. Now, I know that's a real physics lesson, but it is better to stir. Slowly stir. Speed doesn't really help. It's quantity. So low and slow is much better. And if the ink is moved, it will flow. What's unique about all screen printing inks is that they change viscosity when you move them. So if they're allowed to sit, they'll clump. And then when they move, okay, I'll move, and they'll flow. So you want them to, especially with a half tone where you want the dot to keep its shape. You don't want it to spread out like a drop of water does on a brown paper towel. You want the ink to flow, and then you want it to stay where it is. That's the thixotropic index, big word, but think of multi-viscosity oils that people use. When you start up the car, you don't want it to be heavy. You want it to be very thin in the winter. And then as it heats up, heat can be a distraction. The word heat can be a distraction. But when it begins to move, it loosens up and it flows better. And that's what makes it a screen printing ink. Regular house paint does not behave that way. It's expected to be neutral, and it stays on the brush that way. And that's why you shouldn't put so much on so that it drips, but paint is not the same as a screen printing ink.
Yep. I think Clara might be having is that when people say they can partially cure inks by mixing with a high RPM, that's because of heat probably that it's developing. And that will start curing and gelling your ink. It's always better to mix Plastisols a little bit slower.
Inks are tested at 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And so, as I'm sure we've discussed on this thing before, that if you keep your ink at 80 degrees, I always used a crock pot. Or I kept my inks overnight in a cardboard house with a 100-watt bulb in them. Greg Kitson taught us to use an electric blanket used to keep plants warm in a greenhouse.
Seedling mat.
I still like the crock pots. Every year every year when I go to the flea markets or whatever, I'm always looking for crock pots, because you put it. They have to be big enough to hold a quarter a gallon of water, but you can keep them at 80 degrees. 80-degree ink flows like a dream. Ready to go.
On the same question, the only time I saw a mixed Plastisol in a shaker, we would do it on custom match products, and we would actually have to line the inside of the container with almost like a curable reducer to keep the ink from sticking to it, so it would shake and mix well in the shaker. And we would only do it in quarts. We found it didn't work as well on gallons, but that's just my experience with it. So Clara, I hope that helps. Thank you so much for the question. Love it. Love them coming from overseas. Simon says, if we're going to start cleaning up, maybe Richard should start with that dump hole behind him. We love Simon, don't we?
This is an office. This is an office. I've got stuff here that are ready at a moment's notice. I've got T-shirts. Books, and more books.
Yeah. Gusta says, I'm going to start screen printing this year, but start with the delivery. But what ink do I start with? Well, that's up to you. You can go Plastisol, you can go water-based. I would almost look at, what are you printing first? Is it custom? What are your customers demanding on there? If you're going to go water-based, let's talk screens, because the hardest part about water-based is not having good screens. If you don't have good screens, well-cured, exposed stencils, that water-based ink is going to show you where you're failing at real quickly. So any thoughts there, Richard?
For the beginner, Plastisol doesn't dry on the screen, and it requires much less heat, because Plastisol is already 100% solids. There's no evaporation. Water-based, 60% of it is probably some sort of solvents, volatile solvents that have to evaporate. Then you have still the resins that must be cross-linked with heat. That means you've got to first evaporate all the water, solvents, and then heat it up to 310 or something like that degrees. Those are Fahrenheit, of course. So it takes longer to cure water-based no matter what. So it takes longer, and if it dries in the screen, it's a lot more work. Yes, cleaning up the mess. You can wash up with water, but remember, water-based inks are not really made with water. They're made with water and co-solvents. There's still lots of chemicals in there. If people say that they're clean for the environment, all that 60% that evaporates is not water. It's all sorts of chemicals you wouldn't want to breathe. I love water-based inks, but the VOCs are still something to consider.
I think also, too, when talking about green technology and water-based, you have to consider the whole carbon footprint. Are you using, especially if you're using it on a longer, on a big portion of it, you almost have to have longer dryers and stuff like that. So you're going to want to look at your whole carbon just to make those claims. So, yeah, we're not real good on claims like that of what's more environmentally friendly. There's a debate on both sides. So,
well, you've got water-based inks that don't flash very well, and those would be old, your grandpa's water-based inks. But things like the new Virus or the Magna inks that literally water-based whites that you can print and touch it with your finger almost immediately, doesn't smear on your hand.
Yep, absolutely. Well, let's get to this next one. Rubel says, is there a chemical that can clean Plastisol ink from screens? Absolutely. The question is are you reclaiming it? Do you want an ink degradant, or do you need something for a safe screen? And there's a bunch of them that are safer, that are going to have a little bit higher flash point, and that are not going to stain your screens. Most Plastisols, if you don't know it, everybody, most Plastisols stain because you're being hit with a hot solvent. That would be screen opener, mineral spirits, xylene, things like that. And I don't care if it's made
lacquer thinners,
paint thinners. Yeah, I don't care if it has a brand name on it from my company or one other. If the flash point is low, it could cause plastisol to stain. Same thing with water-based. Some of the toughest stains are water-based, blacks and stuff like that. So you've got to clean them out of the image right away. And so you got to keep that in mind. But there's many chemicals, and Rubel, when you can always reach out to me. We'll put our email up here at the end, and you can reach out to me and Richard, and we can help you with that.
Alan be better on that because he's been in the chemical business a lot longer than I have.
And that's
still is in the chemical business.
And that's what Easy Way does. Heather,
he put the nail on the head. Look at the flash point. If it evaporates, that's not good.
Yep.
Because that's called a press wash, but it's meant for solvent inks that you need to clear out the screen. That's not what we need for Plastisol.
Absolutely. Heather says, I've missed Richard talking so much.
Call me.
Richard will always pick up. William Mitchell from Allure has green and blue glow pigments. You can have a different daytime color, not the glow color. You can have a 2-color design that's red and orange in the daytime and glows green and blue in the dark. That would be cool. That is a cool thing to set yourself apart from your customers. Got a hold of William there. What do we got? Marcel, that ethylene glycol, definitely. Daryl Garcia, got to run. Great show, guys. Make it a great weekend. Thank you so much, Daryl. You always
make it a good day, Daryl. I'll see you tomorrow.
Let's see. Clara has. Let's go back to this one because that's going to be for Richard. But let's see what Simon says, and then we'll do this. Spot cleaning water-based inks, black and red, are the hardest to remove. Absolutely. Clara, what's the best EOM percentage to achieve good water-based white on cotton T-shirts using Newman mesh? All right, Richard, this is you. Because there's a little bit of a debate going on that, so I'm going to throw it to you first.
I love Newman mesh. Newman mesh is a professional tool. I love Don Newman. I have Donald Newman's initials tattooed on my butt, almost, not really, but I was a general manager at Stretch Devices in 1985 and 1986. I am a true believer in tension, but Newman mesh doesn't work if you're not using it at 40 and 50 newtons.
Correct.
So a bigger problem is there are so many other problems that come along with just high tension. High tension was a big solution when you go from 10 newtons to 25 newtons. The world changes. And that will compensate for all sorts of other equipment problems that you might be having. It's also only one way that you can go high tension or you can go super thin threads. You can't really combine the two. You get people say, gee, I'm trying to take my thin threads up to 30 newtons. That's not how they work. You have to keep thinner threads more in the 20s, so to speak. I'm speaking very generally. Don't take me specifically and write down 20 for this. So EOM is absolutely easy for you to test because I'd love for you to say, but Richard Greaves said, even Richard Greaves or Don Newman or Mark Coudray or Mark Gervais, who else could I insult? Don't listen to any of them. These are my mentors, my heroes, my friends. Don't listen to any of them. Take a screen, coat it in the normal manner, but coat the bottom when you're finishing with 1, 2, 3 different coatings. So it's different thicknesses. If you send me an email, a quick send you, it's too hard for me to put a picture up right now. But what you want is 5 different thicknesses, and you do an experiment. And so you've got 10 microns, 20 microns. You can't do it that way. 70 microns, 90 microns, 140 microns, the 200 micron EOM, emulsion over mesh, which I always have been saying stencil over mesh, because once it's dry, it's not emulsion anymore. But I have 50 years of people telling me that's not nobody understands what you're talking about. So I'm a grumbler for that. So EOM, one test with one white ink, you pull the squeegee once, twice, 3 times, you print 2 or 3 shirts. It's a sacrificial screen, but you say, oh, the details came out much better on this third step where the the EOM is only 70%. No matter what I say, let us take the words of the great Al Petsy, the great late Al Petsy of Yolano.
Yep.
In your shop, under your conditions,
Yep.
and in the time it takes to make a cup of coffee, you could coat a whole new screen, dry it for 24 hours, image it with a nice detail, some bold and some detailed text, and print on a few scrap black shirts. By tomorrow, you would have your answer. And so, hate me now, but love me later, because that is what will make you a better screen printer. Not crowdsourcing the answer, because you put that on the internet and you'll get the phone book. Everybody with their shop, in their conditions, and their ink, at their altitude,
with their tensions,
with their pressure, with their mesh. Again, you've gone and made a big commitment to go to Newman Roller Mesh. I'm proud of you for that. But you're off contact distance on your press. There's no compensation. A 50 Newton screen has no friends. It's like a piece of glass. It's really hard to print that way. So you got to be using speed. You need to have a white ink that is thixotropic, that will drop in viscosity as you're stroking and then come up again, because it's got to flow through that mesh.
And, using Newman mesh, if you don't have it up to those newtons there, especially with a water-based white on it, you're going to have that ink building up on the inside of those threads real quickly. And
Newman mesh at 20 newtons will be like running a car on low-pressure tires. You will never win the race that way. You need to be in the 40s and 50s and have a press that's tuned for race car tires.
And let's assume she has good tension on her mesh. On a general deal, Richard, too, with EOM, when it comes to water-based, I'd be more inclined going, I'm not as concerned about the EOM as I want a good face coat.
And that's what EOM is all about.
Yep. So good. And make sure, Clara, you reach out to us if we can help you more on that. But that is a great question. Thank you. We've had some awesome questions.
Put up that banner, Alan. Put up that banner. Well, you'll do it later. But
here's mine. And then here's Mr. Greaves. But yeah, we'll do it. We'll put it up at the end again. We got a couple more things, and we're actually not going to get to our last topic because we're almost out of time. We're actually over in the bonus time a little bit. So Simon's cleaning water base, we got that one. Heather, screen opener is a big no-no. Alan's rule. If you ever want me to go on a tangent on a soapbox, Richard saw it in a seminar. Some of you have been in there and you mention it. I try not to, but here's my thing. Alan's rule. If you are a textile printer and you have screen opener anywhere in your building, I don't want to see it. There is no reason for it whatsoever. And I'm starting already. So we'll leave it at that. Yeah. So we'll talk later. If you need more information on that, let me know. But I'm glad you remember that, Heather.
Peter, it's great.
Can't save money using the wrong chemicals to clean and reclaim your screens. Use the right chemistry and do the job quickly, correctly. Respect your screens and success will follow. I always say in seminars, Peter, is almost the same thing. Screens are equipment. Treat them right, and they will make you money. You treat them as a commodity and an afterthought, and they will frustrate you, and that sucking sound you hear are profits. And that goes with chemistry too. All chemicals are not the same. If you think they are, then wonderful. But they are not. Use the right ones the right way, and you will be much happier. And so will your employees too. Sean, don't let him show that tab. This is a family show.
It's a brand. It's a brand. Yep. Burned into my soul.
Charles, how does face coat affect the print?
It makes the surface smoother. Mm-hmm. Very critical when you're printing glass and plastic, because every little imperfection, the classic sawtooth of the emulsion shrinking on the mesh. Again, emulsion is about 60% water, typically. Let's say at least 50% water, because it's 50% solids. So When it dries, it shrinks and takes on the texture of the mesh. No one can prevent this unless you use direct film. And that's why I'm such a big believer in direct film. In my own printing companies, I was never a direct emulsion user. When I worked at Gelano, I couldn't believe how many people they all want direct because they want direct emulsion instead of direct film. Well, it costs more money. Well, that has nothing to do with the fact if you're looking for the final outcome, it doesn't really matter how long it takes you to make your screens. And face coating does take longer, but face coating fills up the holes of the pockets that are left by the texture of the mesh. Kiwo has written more about face coatings than anybody else, but Charles, I will, as soon as I get off of the call I've got right after this, I will send you some pictures, or I'll post some. I guess we don't really have a thing here for the Q&A, do we?
No. But Charles is a tribe.
Again, I am the library. Here's my plug. I am the library. You want to learn about face coating? Send me an email. Cost you nothing. Don't worry.
I believe Charles is a tribe member also, correct? Yes. Charles, and then
Charles is a friend of mine too, so he knows how to find me.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah.
But I'm busy. I'm busy for the next hour.
For those of you that don't know about face coating, it's after you've coated your screen, let it dry. Then with a thin edge of your scoop coater, one coat on the print side that fills it in, lets it dry. You'll get a lot better dot, a lot better print out of it. So
and it takes a lot longer to make the screens. Yep,
definitely.
Hey, I want to coat and burn that screen in the afternoon. No, it's not for you.
Not going to happen. Yep. Josiah says, "I love screen opener, especially the smell." What? That's called huffing. Richard and I will be up today for an intervention. Peter says, I heard Richard Katz says, Bob, we'll forget that also.
I'm taking this car and breaking it in half.
Simon says, cyclohexanone, wrong. If you want cancer, right there, it is. Charles says yes. So.
Simon, what does he think that I'm drinking?
Yeah.
Hey, a quart of this a day and...
Man, cyclohexanone, man, that was some bad stuff, and we used to have it all the time. Well, we're going to end on that since we had lots of questions, and I think it was a great show. My first one without Marshall, so let me know. Hopefully everybody liked it. I appreciate everybody coming in. Don't forget, man, share this with your friends. Let us know. I love the international people that were on. Thank you so much. Yes. We forget that our world is small. And one of the things I want to do, Richard, is there are so many excellent printers in Europe, in Asia, in Russia, in Australia that most of us here in North America don't know about. And man, looking forward to bringing that industry together. And I think this is the way to do it on things like this. So thank you so much, everybody. Don't forget, Richard, and be on the lookout for Richard and Scott Fresner on the T-shirt report. You can find that on YouTube or Facebook. Look that up. And if you need to get a hold of Richard, here is his email and phone number. You know, I have people talking. You know, Richard is an incredible guy. He is the easiest to access. All you got to do is reach out to him. He will answer every email and every phone call. So, and then let's see. Don't forget to write your questions. If you need to get a hold of Marshall, he is out on the road. He has been in Florida and in Texas this week, his first road trip since COVID started. And he is filming with jerseys, a new, I think it's Adventures Apparel Decorating. So, but there's Marshall's. And here, if you need to get a hold of me, right there. And love to hear from you. We will answer. And that's about it. Anything I forget? Hey, cookbook. We didn't talk about that, Richard, at the beginning. The cookbook.
Cooking is your thing.
So last week, don't forget, Marshall and I were talking. We are coming up with a Q&A cookbook. Your recipes, cook it, take a picture of it, send the recipe in your picture to Marshall, and we're going to put that together in an ebook as a Q&A apparel decorating cookbook. I have a couple of them I'm going to do. I already did homemade chicken soup. I'm going to take a picture of that today and be sending that in. And yeah, don't forget about that. And I think that's about it, Richard. Any
All
final
right.
words before we're there?
No, I love the theme that we had, and that would be experimentation. I seemed very authoritarian or laying down the law, but that's not the way that I, as I look back, those are the facts. But let me help you, because I've got lots of, if you're looking for an article about something, I know somebody that wrote an article about any of these subjects that document that and will help you through the experimentation. If you're nervous, we can help.
Absolutely. And that's about it. Everybody have a great weekend. There's a blizzard coming through part of the country. It's here already in Michigan. It's moving east. Be safe, everybody. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you next week. Next week, man, we're going to have a special guest. Marshall and I are going to have Nate Leber from Leber Designs. He is an up-and-coming great printer, has a lot of history, tests a lot of products. We're excited to have him, so stay tuned for that next week. And we'll see y'all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a great one.